is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
I have to return some videotapes. I have to return some videotapes. To return some videotapes. To return some videotapes. To return some videotapes. Videotapes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Strange Glow Video. My name is Justin. With me as always is my esteemed colleague, co-host extraordinaire, Alec. How's it going?
It's dragging on.
It's dragging on. Well, that's life sometimes, man. Hey, but the weather's good, so we got that going for us.
Yeah, I'm hoping, I just keep thinking about those odds of the comet, And in reality, it'd be more like Melancholia if that happened, it'd be all like depressed and existential. Yeah. But I like to think it'd be more like I don't know, Woody Harrelson in 2012 when he's standing on top of the mountain at Yellowstone and he's just like, it's so beautiful, man. And then it like blows him up and kills him.
Well, I wonder if an asteroid was actually going to hit and destroy Earth.
Ben is in the chat. Hello, Ben.
Hey, Ben, welcome to the show. I wonder if an asteroid was going to hit the Earth, would it be like a Mallrats moment where everyone just starts taking their parts out and taking care of business, being like, well, there's only so much time left, so we may as well enjoy it.
Like, you think, how many people
things
like
fall apart
before and go off and do crazy shit?
Yeah.
It'd be mass hysteria.
It'd be insane. It'd be nonsense, crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so tonight we're going to talk about I Saw the TV Glow, which if you're looking for a little bit of existentialism, this movie brings just a touch of it. So this is an interesting film, though.
I wanted to see this. I saw just the poster of it originally. And I was like, okay, I see they're doing like a little Poltergeist reference thing here.
Yeah.
And I saw the TV glow. And the TV looks like it's a square TV, not a, widescreen TV. So you have my attention for multiple reasons here.
Yeah, you got a classic tube TV. Alone. Yeah. Throws back, this starts in 1996 is basically when this movie starts.
Yeah.
I didn't really see any trailers to this. I saw the posters and stuff. So to your point, I didn't really know much about this and had low expectations or zero expectations going into this. I heard it was a horror film. Mm-hmm. And it's more on the lines of...
It's horror if in the way that Twin Peaks is horror.
But in a psychological... Yeah, it's in
a
psychological manner, I guess, because really... This movie there's probably some scary shit in there if it's relatable to somebody on like a personal level. But the general message in this is pretty interesting. And to your point, it gave me lots of vibes. So first of all, I'm going to just list a few things that it gave me vibes of. There's moments in this movie that really felt like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Just because it felt very accessible for horror. So like, and when I say horror on that, I mean like mood settings, lighting, all those types of things. It kind of gave those vibes there. And then if I were to describe this to a friend of mine that was like into film, I would say, imagine if there was a movie, Are You Afraid of the Dark, directed by David Lynch. And I mean that in the most sincere way, because this movie doesn't have a lot of clear, straight to the point answers for you, right? There's a lot of ambiguity in this movie, and I think that works for it. At first, I was like, do I like that? And I was like, wait, I like David Lynch. I like other movies that don't have a linear path, so you know exactly what happened. I'm like, yes, I quite enjoy this. So,
yeah. The pink opaque itself is obviously, they say it's a little bit Buffy, but it's a little bit Buffy. It's a little bit Beetleborgs, if you remember that show. which
Man,
is
I got
sort of
totally
like
the
the
adventures
spooky
of
Power Rangers.
yes, but I also got serious vibes from the adventures of Pete and Pete on there.
But yeah, that's another thing I was going to bring up. That's intentional. There's actually cameos from 2 of the people in the movie.
Awesome. That's badass.
Let's see who it says.
Yeah, so
Mariona and Tamborelli, lead actors of Pete and Pete, stars.
interesting.
Fascinating. They said
Yeah,
that,
and so
like I'm just reading on the Wikipedia, the film also draws inspiration from Schönbrun's, is that how you say it? Schönbrun's reoccurring dream about the ending of Twin Peaks and aims to capture a Lynchian terror inspired by follow-up, The Return. The film intertwines themes of TV series endings and revivals.
I did like that. As a huge film and TV fan, there are some very good vibes in there. You know what else I didn't realize when I was watching this until I looked at the credits? Fucking Fred Durst plays the dad. It's pretty wild. I know he's been doing
That's
some
insane.
acting. Yeah.
I didn't pay that close attention at all.
No, and like the performance was fine. I was just like, okay, and I would go back and look at that. I'm like, oh no shit, that is Fred Durst. Okay. So I know he's done some directing and things like that. So to see somebody like that in there is pretty interesting. And then
Mhm.
obviously we have Jack Haven as Maddie, and they're a pretty interesting character. I know them from the show Atypical, but mentioned that you know them from Bill and Ted Face the Music, so obviously I do
Yeah.
too as well. But
Played Billy Logan, so kind of a big role there too.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's
and
pretty
so
sick. And then Justice Smith, the lead adult actor for the main character, was in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah,
that's where I
Yeah.
recognized him mainly from. He was also in Detective Pikachu, which I saw, but like I was kind of like just hanging out at a friend's house, like who had it on. I just bought it on DVD or something, you know.
Yeah. He did have a quick cameo in Jurassic World Dominion as well. I think that was right at the
Yeah.
very beginning when they're showing like yeah, I remember that. Okay. Yeah, but he has a good performance in there as well. I think what carried it for me for him was his character is this kind of this soft-spoken, very relaxed person. And when I say relaxed, I mean he's almost
There were
like
certain aspects of this character that were extremely relatable in some of those senses.
yeah, very
Like,
within
it's
him,
like-
within himself as a character, but just like the voice and the mannerisms and like the portrayal was pretty good. And even the actor that portrayed the younger version of that character was great. He did a good job.
Yeah.
Which because they did a 2-year jump and then they changed characters, so I was like, okay, that's interesting. Don't know if they had to do that, but just to get the vibes going and just to show off the puberty.
Well, they eventually went far enough into the future.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally get that. So
I think it's because of the trans allegory there. I think it was necessary because it's, in the director's own words, it's sort of about egg cracking, which is what essentially the trans community refers to as when you kind of realize you're trans and you're like, oh shit.
yeah, that epiphany, that personal moment where it clicks.
I might not be what I previously thought or whatever, or anything.
Yeah.
The realization essentially. And so a lot of that stuff I feel like might be harder to understand when you're watching if you can't relate to that stuff at all. But
Well, yeah. I mean, to me, that would explain why when I first was getting ready to watch this, and I searched, I saw the poster and everything, and I also saw some of the reviews, and I didn't read any reviews. I just saw some like scores and averages, and I'm like, it's kind of low, and I'm like, okay, so that seems either this wasn't super mainstream or there's something about this movie that was intentional to kind of get that there, and that makes sense now to see some of those mid scores because it tells an interesting story with interesting characters, and you really don't know the difference between reality and fiction within this movie, right? These worlds they're in.
That's sort of the thing is So they have these perspectives. Let me see the characters' names again. Owen and Maddie. Okay, so Owen is essentially the person who feels like they're trans, like they're pre-egg crack, and then the other character, Maddie, is post, where they
Mhm.
realize it. And they're trying to get the other person to realize it too. And
Yes.
so it's kind of like how does a person feel if they go their whole lives this way without having, like, that's way just having that conversation at the end, the monologue about, like, I don't know, sometimes I still think about if Maddie was right about all that shit, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very fascinating way to look at it too.
Well,
Because that character comes back looking obviously way more masculine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, totally more comfortable as who they are. Which, like, you see the struggle early on for Maddie, right? I mean, there's no hiding that, really. I mean, she's pretty transparent there. But for Owen, you see him have those conversations where he's basically saying, "You just feel like you don't have a heart there," you know?
Right.
And he's borderline saying he's asexual, but not even going that deep with it, right? It's ambiguous enough of just like, hey, do you understand that? Does that make sense to you? Because he doesn't feel strong feelings towards anyone, but if he's got inner turmoil, obviously that would make sense, and then his mom dies and is very sheltered. And obviously there's a fear of his father within this movie, even though he stays with him till his father dies, because, he early on, one of the first scenes we see with him is him asking his mom to ask his dad if he can stay over at his friend's house. Showing that fear and anxiety there. And then his dad also makes that comment about the Pink Opaque. Isn't that like a girly show?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like some shaming and stereotypes and things like that are kind of, it was very much how the 90s really were, for that matter.
It was that way before the 90s and before, like, in general. Yeah. So
yeah.
Like,
yeah. So that captured a realistic,
sorry to cut you off there, but I was going to say one of the big things that put people in public uproar is the Target refusing to label like girls essentially,
mm-hmm.
and not like color coding their toy sections anymore, and just like triggered people, just like, because in the 90s you couldn't, how much I wanted one of these goddamn Barbie Dreamhouse sets. I didn't care about the Barbies themselves, but like those things were cool. So were the cars.
Yeah.
It's just
and
unfair.
It's
Polly Pocket, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, and some of those, they did the opposite. They had Mighty Max to coincide with Polly Pocket, right? And they did these two things. But I think even just from a childhood development standpoint, toys are much better at finding just a neutral ground that's available for all kids. Now, granted, there's still plenty of stuff catered to each, like boys and girls, which I don't think you can fully go away from, or I don't think companies will, at least not anytime soon. But the fact that they're more aware of just making things accessible, right? Like, I see kids shopping all toy aisles now without anyone questioning them. Like, why? Oh, you can't go down that aisle. Like, I'll go down whatever aisle I want to shop at.
Yeah.
Don't question me. I'm consuming.
Yeah, just to clarify, I did see that Jack Haven is non-binary, uses they them pronouns, so they identify as queer. So there's that.
Well, I think that helps carry the story too. When you cast someone that can relate to that on a personal level. And then, did you say the director is trans as well?
Yeah, it's a trans woman.
Okay. So that, yeah. And I mean, this shit's scary. And I think the fact that lots of people are able to find their voice in film now in different ways, right? We're at an interesting point, because a movie like this probably wouldn't have been made in the 90s. Granted, the time periods would have changed a little bit, but those themes there would have been they would have had to dumb it down a lot.
All right. Well, okay. To clarify, the director, Sharon Brune, is a trans femme non-binary. Which just means Well, I think it's obvious. Yeah, interesting. I'm just on their Wikipedia here. Seeing if there's anything else they've done that I know. Not currently, no, but yeah, this is one that escaped me last year. It hit the theaters, and then I, for whatever reason, wasn't able to see it. It was a pretty limited run.
Yeah, I don't think this had a huge release, but there's enough buzz about it. Like I remember hearing about it, and then we're trying to catch up on some things from 2024 right now as we're kind of in a theater lull at the moment. Just there's not a crazy amount of stuff going on at the currently. So
Yeah, I kind of wanted to see Last Breath, but didn't end up going.
yeah, so the director says, I don't think my relationship to gender is something I completely understand. It's actually quite comforting to embrace incoherence. And to me, that speaks perfectly to the Lynchian aspects of this film, right? It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be a coherent linear story for people to enjoy it or for it to make sense.
That's why I will defend Seed of Chucky to the death.
Oh, yeah.
Love that movie because of that character. And being non-binary myself, it's dope to see that all the way back in 2006 in a horror movie of all things.
Yeah.
And then this movie too. Fun to learn about.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this movie, and even just the way they presented things with the TV, like the stuff that was shot like it was a 90s television show within there, like when they're showing the Pink Opaque, was great.
Yes.
Like it
Well,
felt
that's what I'm
so
saying, like,
authentic. It felt so
you're-
real to like that show.
You remember Beetleborgs, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was like the goth Power Rangers. Some of the monsters and stuff looked like they were out of that or Power Rangers. Like that's how the costumes were designed.
Yeah.
That was perfect. Obviously, they, made it 4x3 and did all the stuff you would want to do and made it have like a little TV effect on it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it was made for 4:3 ratio. They're probably out. I'd be fascinated to see how they actually shot some of that stuff. Did they use old equipment to get it to that traditional look, or just do that in post?
I'm sure they just did it in post because of budget reasons, but yeah,
You never know, but yeah.
I'm just imagining. I mean, I suppose if you were to shoot it on videotape, not film,
Mm-hmm.
that would get the quality you want. So maybe some
this
TV
was
shows were shot on video.
Yeah, this was shot back in 2022.
Yeah.
Interesting. It was kind of crazy. Like, I was really enjoying the aspect of like Owen not knowing if Maddie was telling the truth or not within this, right? Because it's just such a cop out. Like, there's things that point to that being 100% true, and he's just like in denial of reality.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that allegory they're talking about, because you see Owen in denial of all this, despite like having hunches and feelings, and I don't know if you want to say is choosing to ignore it, but not really letting it define him or
Yeah.
change him too much. The other piece that I thought was interesting in there, which I think works for the film, because there's a lot of jumping around in here, which you could say is a good thing, you could say is a bad thing. I think it just kind of shows the growth of these characters over time, though. So you kind of need those. But when he says that, he has a family of his own and he loves them to death, and we never see that family.
Oh yeah, he's just alone. Like, don't even know if that's.
Is
what the
that
hell's
real?
being
Is
hinted at
that
there.
yeah? So to me, that was a fascinating point within the movie. Was like, you have a family of
been
your
home
own that
years.
you love to death. Yeah, and like, is that saying is that saying Owen like just truly loves himself as he is, or is there a family and like they didn't need to show that? And I thought that was an interesting choice, because lots of times when you see these type of grow up scenarios or scenes in movies, you see people have that intentional traditional family unit. When they go about doing that, they would go out of their way to show you like, here's the family that he's with.
Yeah.
but we don't have any of that. Like that's just left up to your imagination, which I think works pretty well in this case.
Well, I think the ending is kind of representing, from my perspective, basically, he's standing there in that room at the party place.
Mm-hmm.
He's old, a little old anyway. Looks pretty
Yeah.
decrepit though.
Yeah.
And just starts screaming and freaking out. I'm dying, like, and everybody's looking down, not paying any attention. That's kind of obvious. I feel like the messaging for that's obvious. A trans person sort of like in
Reaching
fucking
for help.
misery.
Yeah,
and
no one doing fuck to help. Yeah, no, that made a lot of sense there, because you literally have this person there and they look more inconvenienced by this person lashing out than there's actually any sympathy or empathy within that room to like check on that individual. And that person even feels bad about it later. Like Owen's literally walking out of there moments later after, and they're saying sorry about my outburst.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's so fucked up. I mean, because if you think about, I mean, everyone probably knows somebody like that overly apologizes. Like, imagine how fucking tormented you have to be that apologetic all the time, right? You're walking on eggshells. So,
or you're Canadian.
yeah, they're used to dealing with Americans. So, they
Sorry.
put up with a lot. Sorry about that.
Sorry
You got
about
any
that.
maple syrup?
Hey, you want to go to Tim Hortons? Eh?
Don't you know? Yeah. So
Saskatchewan. There you go.
the fascinating part on this was when Owen cuts his chest open. And I was curious because the comment earlier where Owen says he doesn't feel like he has a heart, basically. You know, he feels empty. And I thought that was a fascinating way to show like all the TV static and all the static of things going on around you that can interfere and kind of come and go. And even that, like, you don't know, like,
see, to me, I
what
saw
that
that
means.
differently almost. Earlier in the movie, he's laying down in the bed after she draws the thing on his neck.
Yeah.
And he has like that TV fuzz that's like above him.
Yeah.
Which is a really cool like scene, you know.
Yeah, that stood out, I think.
To me, the ending, like finally cutting himself open and seeing, it was almost like seeing the TV is in there, basically. Like the true him is what she said it was. Or, you know, what Maddie explained was true almost, essentially, is what I'm gathering, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, like I said, it's fascinating. And then apparently there's been talk of a sequel to this movie. And I think they were going to try and tell it from a different perspective, is kind of like what the initial thoughts were on it. I don't think they're in a rush to do that immediately. But that would be fascinating to kind of tell this similar story from another perspective. Right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like most of this movie is Owen's story, right? Maddie's kind of 70-30, right? Owen we're with the entire time. Maddie goes away and we lose her for a minute. So like, what did she experience while she was gone? And I think is kind of what that other possibility might be. But then we talk about other things and other influences, and I definitely saw some of the Mighty Boosh in this as well. Just Mr. What was the main villain's name on the, what are they calling that guy? The main bad guy on the Pink Opaque.
Oh, Mr. Melancholy?
Yeah, Mr. Melancholy. You know, that moon in the sky very much reminded me of the Mighty Boosh there.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
And just the way some of those things looked. And then the Mighty Boosh is just, you know, not afraid to just do whatever the fuck they wanted. So.
Brenda is in the chat. Says, Canada geese are all over where I live. The rage of all Canadians are transferred to them.
I'm sure they are. And their shit's going everywhere. Canadian geese, man. Those fucking big old logs.
Does it not show you our comments?
No, I can't see shit in here. Oh, there it is.
Well,
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a
So-
good film. What did you think of the music? I really like the music in this. They had that band perform as themselves in there, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that one song. I actually looked it up the first time I watched it because the lyrics were very interesting. And if you've ever talked to a girl who's, I'd probably say at this point, 18 to hell, almost 30, or even older, 35, man. The lyrics to that song are like the most relatable shit in the world. They played there for just women
Mhm.
in general, I feel like.
Yeah, and I did like how some of those lyrics felt like they were directly out of the movie, as well. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's just a whole vibe for that movie. It very much felt like indie underground for the time, right? Which I think could be very difficult to do in a movie. You're like dealing with modern artists, but I think the artists they chose in this fit the assignment very well. The score I like too. There's some interesting 90s sounds, some 80s sounds in there, but they also added some strings and stuff like that overlaying things. So I quite enjoyed
It was
that. So,
scores done by Alex G, if you know who that is.
okay.
It's a musical guy. He's sort of similar-ish to Mac DeMarco, if you know who that is.
Hmm.
Or at least he was at one point. I don't know if he still is, but I was never like, oh my God, Alex G. But a lot of people I knew liked him, so just aware of him. My cat's
think he
just
did it.
biting my hand. Fun. Hey, stop
Oh,
it.
so he also scored the director's previous release, which is called We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is something I kind of want to check out now,
Yeah.
just based on seeing this. I haven't, you're the only person that I've talked to that I know has seen this. Have you talked to anybody that's seen this and gotten any opinions on it elsewhere?
No, I've just seen, since I'm in the whole YouTube movie reviewer space, I definitely see other people talk about it, and I've seen it mentioned here and there in comment spaces and stuff like that, and some trans spaces, but nothing
Nothing super mainstream. Yeah. Yeah, I
It
feel
is
like it's pretty
A24,
good.
so
Yeah, that's true. So there's the potential for it to be there.
it's on HBO Max now. That's how I watched it.
Okay. I found mine in alternative ways. But you got to do what you got to do.
Support indie filmmakers, by the way.
Yeah, buy their films. Support the DVDs and Blu-ray industry.
Yeah, I'd like to pick up a physical copy of this. This would be fun to have on VHS too. This would be a good one.
Oh, for sure. It totally fits the VHS vibes. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, when I initially watched this, I was just kind of wondering, like, are we going to get anything linear out of this? And then, the further we get into it, we realized that it didn't even make sense. It's definitely worth checking out, though. I will say that I like this better than Nosferatu and Longlegs. No doubt.
Yeah, Longlegs and this are both Lynchian, which has become a genre all on its own.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I like that Saw the TV Glow better, for sure.
Yeah.
This
I think
would have
this is-
been probably in my top 5 of last year had I seen it during the last year.
Yeah,
Not-
I'm glad we
I like the substance better still, for sure. But like,
top 5. Yeah, I'd have to go and refresh my list, but yeah, it's nice catching up on some of these though right now because we definitely missed some good stuff.
for sure,
So what would you rate this? If you're going to rate this out of 10, where do you throw at this thing?
an 8 or 8.5.
Okay.
I think there were some parts that were slow. I think the worst part of the movie to me, which honestly, I don't know, I feel like bad for saying it's the worst part of the movie, but the monologue about where Maddie had been that whole time and like all that shit was just kind of like it dragged on and I got bored with it a little bit is all, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, when we look at it, there were some pacing issues with it early on, right? It's about an hour and 30 minutes runtime. It felt longer than that in certain aspects because,
I think it's an hour and 40, but yeah, it's close enough.
yeah, I mean, with credits and shit, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
when it
Brent,
gets,
Brenda asked in the chat, I'm not familiar with this movie. What's it about? Essentially, sort of a movie about from about 1996 to 2025, give or take. Reference, I don't know, somewhere in there. About a kid named Owen who is just kind of lonely and confused about life and stuff. It's pretty. A lot of that's just contextual, like from watching the movie. You have to get that too. It doesn't just tell you all these details.
Yeah.
So, and then it's basically a trans allegory, but this character is obsessed with this TV show called The Pink Opaque, and these two characters bond over it. It's a teenage girl and a maybe like a 12 or 13-year-old boy or 14. I don't know exactly.
yeah. So I think when they do the initial intro in 1996, when they introduce him, Owen is in the 7th grade and Maddie says she's in the 9th grade. So 2-year age difference there, but kind of in that same junior high coming of age type story, but not your traditional coming of age.
It's sort of about basically someone realizing they're trans, but it's an allegory for that, so it's not like super. It's not actually necessarily about that, but it is kind of at the same time. So it's one of those fun movies. Yeah.
If someone's not into, if someone's never met a trans person or talked to a trans person or knows anybody like that, this may be like a movie they have no fucking clue about. Right? It could be something they're completely distanced or separated from just because they don't understand. So
this is Brenda Arquette, though. So
yeah, I know.
If you know anything about her politics,
yeah, she's on board.
Yeah. But if you're interested, it's on HBO Max, or I'm sure you could find other ways to watch it as well. If you're Justin.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely check this out. You'll probably like it. There's some interesting things in it. The vibes on this, though, which are interesting because for a movie as heavy as this could be, this movie, they didn't make it feel like a complete downer. It's just bizarre and strange and does its own thing in ways that I just feel like a lot of people would have taken this movie and like just gone with the heavy stuff. And there's some interesting things in there too that are just, I think, kind of capture that essence of being a teenager and not knowing what the fuck's going on all around you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, it's not over the top by any means. So,
yeah, I don't know. It's a very fascinating movie. You need to, it's one of those ones that to gather every other thing, I think I'm going to need to watch still more times. I've watched it twice now at home, but
yeah, I feel like you're going to catch a lot of things subtly throughout this movie, the more viewings you have.
I'll have to see if I can get a physical copy.
Yeah, see who's releasing that. In other news, it is Mario Day, though, so happy Mario Day. They actually finally announced a 4K and Blu-ray release of that Mario movie, the original Mario movie. So if you're looking to get that on physical media, I saw a advertisement for that earlier. So what else is new, man?
Well, they put Empire Magazine's doing a David Lynch cover, but it's for members only or whatever, subscribers.
Nice.
Fangoria is doing a David Lynch cover as well with Lost Highway on the front. But it's also for subscribers only, so that's annoying.
Yeah, sometimes online you can find those subscriber issues, but if you're going on eBay, everyone always jacks up the rates of those. But once in a while, you can get a subscriber cover through some of the secondary um, places. I got a new book the other day that came in. This is half off. It's called Behind the Screens. It's basically illustrated floor plans and scenes from the best TV shows of all times. Now, you got to take that with a grain of salt because there's some good shows in here, but they don't have Twin Peaks and they don't have Alf, so I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. If I agree with everything they're saying, but it's pretty fascinating because they have these nice illustrations of all the rooms and everything. This is a book I'd had in the cart for a while, and it went on sale, so it was one of those things that's like, as a TV fan, it's interesting to have that.
You can order the Blu-ray off of the A24 website. You can also order the vinyl soundtrack for $40.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I bet that soundtrack's wonder if that's on streaming everywhere right now. Let me check it out and see if it is.
I don't know if the full sound score part is, but I know the other stuff, at least songs from it, are on there. I've seen them, but the substance
it looks like it's
score is on there, which is fun.
okay. It looks like it's all on here. At least the soundtrack is. Which the cover to that soundtrack is interesting as well because it has the ice cream truck on there. So there's some very interesting things going on here. Yeah, soundtracks are hit and miss on so many streamers, especially like on Apple Music, because half the time they want you to go buy it to get the whole album or whatever. And you're like, fuck you. You're streaming all this. Why are you streaming? Why are you skipping individual tracks?
Yeah.
But I get it. Yeah. So what else you got going? New music in the works you're teasing?
Yeah, I've got some new music. I have a licensing deal I'm working on as well for one of my songs for an upcoming film. Not like it's a documentary, so we'll see what happens with that. But if all goes according, that'll be fun. And I haven't released an album in 7 years as Another Green World, so I guess I should. I was checking out my Spotify the other day, and I still have like 700 monthly listeners. So I'm like,
There you go.
I still get money paid out from my label for all the releases too. Every 6 months, I want to say. Nothing crazy, but like it's a little pocket change.
Yeah, a little something, a little snack, a little treat.
Yeah, so thing is, when I release these albums, I always sell a decent amount on Bandcamp too, so
I think, that's kind of where it's at, for most streamers, because hell, even big name artists don't make shit from Spotify or Apple Music. They're not getting paid anything.
Yeah.
Really, in the grand scheme of things, like you see people posting their checks on there and you're like, that's interesting that they're willing to go and lowball and screw over so many musicians, but they won't do that to a movie company and have movies for streaming for cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no equivalent to that. Everyone has their own streaming TV service, but they will literally lump every single musician they can find and make a way to exploit them for their stuff and not pay them anything. But movies and TV shows, you can't do that. And you're like, fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. That's pretty much it that's going on. Other than my other regular YouTube stuff. Going live again tomorrow night. I don't even know what I'm talking about yet. No guests so far, unless you feel like appearing.
Yeah, we'll see. Got the dudes coming over tomorrow, hang out for a bit. Finally finished my Ghostbusters containment unit diorama, so I'm going to throw a video of that over on my YouTube here. Should have that. I'm hoping to shoot that over. I might start shooting a little bit of it tonight and then get that up, but got the last couple of major pieces and things done I needed on there. So that'll be an interesting one for people to check out if you're into that kind of thing. This is the first miniature I've ever made, like 1/12 scale diorama. So,
Yeah.
but I think it turned out pretty nice.
Pretty slick. Childhood, you would be like, holy shit.
Fuck yeah, that's what I'm doing. It's like trying to appease this shit that no one will make me or sell me. Like, if you can't do it, I'll do it myself. Damn it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's where we're at. Oh, the other big news though today is Helen Hunt was announced for Planet Comic Con, our local con here in Kansas City. So, I'm really hoping to get Helen Hunt to sign the Twister Laserdisc I have to go along with all the others. So that's high on my priority list for the con.
You need to just, once you're done with the basement, just do it floor by floor. Build the whole damn firehouse with like an exterior removable wall.
It's funny that you say that because I've already started planning that.
Yeah.
Because
Like-
I pre-ordered the HasLab Ecto ones, and I want an exterior, a facade, at least to drive the Ecto in and out of there. But I'm like, if I'm going to go through that route, I am going to probably build a whole thing, and it's going to be fucking huge, though. That's going to be the problem with it, is it's going to be gigantic.
Yeah.
So,
It'll be about the size of a fucking Detolf in your corner.
yeah, I'm wondering height-wise what that'll be. But the other thing, like how crazy you want to get with the details. So part of me was like, okay, is there anyone that's actually measured this building?
Street level?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, I glitched out, I think. I said, do you need to do like a street level?
Yeah, I'm going to do a street level for the HasLab Ectos. At least for that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, not just the street. I know you have the whole firehouse. You can have like a piece of road there or anything, or just the building itself.
No, I want to do some road too, but something like that is going to be like, where the hell am I going to display that? So it's got to be very, very well thought out. Because just the size of this basement diorama, like it only has, it's got the containment unit and everything else we can kind of see down there. It doesn't have the stairs going down though, which if I were to add this
You'll
to
need
something else,
eventually.
I would consider adding stairs.
Yeah.
But right now, this current setup fits, should fit in my display case. And I say that because I may have to trim some of my backing off one spot of this where the Matty Collector containment unit is, because that's like pre-made there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit deeper in the back of that than the rest of it is. Yeah, but beyond that, that's been my big project, and being a parent and going to school and working. So nothing like punishing yourself by being busy all day, every day.
Yeah. I feel that, especially with working on music now again too, and doing my YouTube, our YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a lot of time. Because you can put in a lot of hours on any of these things. Like this diorama, I mean, if I were to build another one exactly like this, I could probably build it in a quarter of the time just because I know what I'm doing with it now.
Yeah.
But that first one was a lot of trial and error and like, okay, what am I doing here? And then, this one's a combination of the basement we see in Frozen Empire and the basement we see in the original, because they're slightly different and there's some differences within there that I'll kind of cover in my video when I do it. But just fascinating to see how that rebuild was and compare it to. So, but yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Cat's rubbing on the laptop.
Moving the camera around. Like, yeah, look at this.
He has his tongue out too. He's doofing.
Good times. All right. Well, I say we can wrap this one up, and we'll come back at it next week with some something interesting to talk about. We'll see what's going on in the world.
Yep.
Maybe catch another movie from 24 that we missed. Hell, maybe we'll go find a throwback movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to it. If you got any suggestions, drop them in the comments, and we'll take a look. We'll We'll be back next Monday, though, or Tuesday. Probably Monday, though. Anyway, we'll see you later. Have a good night.